I'd been waiting for ages.
There he is. Where were you?
I was waiting in the waiting room. You just didn't
It,
like
it just popped in, just popped up. That's funny.
it. I'd been there.
Technology said we weren't supposed to talk until now.
That's
Uh,
very true.
so, what are you grateful for?
What is my vitamin G? I am grateful that I got to go for a walk this morning in the beautiful weather and over here where I am right now. And yeah, it was a nice hour walk with a friend of mine. And yeah, that was a beautiful thing to do this morning. And then being above ground, just being alive, being able to walk, talk, see, hear, feel, just being, I'm just grateful for the opportunities that I get in life as well.
Thanks for
What
sharing.
about you?
I don't have any.
You don't have any? Okay.
Kidding.
See you
I'm
later, buddy.
kidding.
Bye.
Yeah. No, for me, being back in North Dakota, being around family and friends and all that stuff, and just taking in all the old memories of driving down the streets and getting to see new stuff and seeing old stuff being gone and new stuff going up. The high school that I went to, the high school that Steph went to, they tore that down in the last couple of months. That's gone.
Oh, okay. Wow.
No longer be there. And one of our hangout places, one of a fast food restaurants, they tore that down and they're building something else in there. Out with the old, in with the new. And yeah, it's been beautiful to be back.
Nice.
And
Nice.
it's a great time. We talked about this 2 weeks about talking about this. Let's jump right into what we want to share today because I'm back in my hometown, and the thing that we want to talk about today is never compromise who you are for where you are or who you're with.
Yes.
And one of the fastest ways people can lose themselves and lose our identity is slowly adapting to the environment around you.
Yes.
And you're not even knowing that it's happening, right?
Mhm.
And when I come back here, I get that feeling of, man, who was I before I left here 25 years ago? And then who am I today? And when I come back, right? What a great conversation to have today about this especially for me, with me being back in the hometown. And we fly home tonight to go back to Arizona where we have another environment that we get to be around too. So great conversation today. What's your thoughts when you hear that?
For me, it's like you said, let's dive into it because you're living it right now. So let's talk about your experiences of why with you being there right now. Let's talk about them experiences, and then we've got understandably we've got some other experiences, so we can talk about. The question I have for you is, when you've gone back home to North Dakota, what was your environment? What is the environment? Have you actually adapted to the environment that you're in, or have you continued to be the person that you are back in Arizona?
Sure. And I'm gonna split it up a little bit
Okay.
because my intention to come back here
Hmm.
was one of our nephews is graduating from high school, and I really
Yeah.
wanted that to be the underlying theme of being here,
Yeah.
and then also seeing everybody else. I today, side note, I went and see my godmother. She ended up selling her house last year and moved into a retirement community, and she's 96 years old, and I got to go spend
Oh,
some time with her,
that's
which
awesome.
that was one of the things that I wasn't going to compromise and not go see
Yes.
her. So yeah, when you asked me that question, my intention for coming back here was for our nephew Caden, because this was his time, and so we asked him if he could pick us up from the airport, which we've never asked him before. It was usually typically my mother and father-in-law or my brother or my sister or something like that.
Yeah.
And so I asked him, and he said absolutely. So he was even there early. He was there way earlier than the plane. Even had taken a picture and letting us know that he was already there, which is cool. But as I was flying down and coming here, I set some intentions for myself. That was the one of
Mhm.
them. And the other one was my non negotiables. What was I going to keep doing while I'm here?
Yeah.
And so my morning routine is really
Yeah.
easy to do. I have 30 plus things to do. And if I do at least five of them, I've won the day. So I more or less pick five of them, and I get
Yeah.
up and do my breathing exercises. I drink my water. I do my Goscue workouts, exercises. I do my length. I do my
Yeah.
jumping, and then anything that I add to it. I did a HIIT exercise while I was here. My mother and father-in-law got a bike. I did 1 or 2 days of that. So
No.
I look at what am I going to bring with me to this. And then one of the things that I'm very flexible about, rigid flexibility, is because I'm pretty on point with my food intake while I'm at home. We got a good environment. We have good routines, all those things. I was able to let that slide a little bit because if my nephew wants to go eat something that I typically wouldn't eat, I'm going to go eat it with him. And so those are the types of things that I was preparing myself for. So yeah, I kind of know what I'm getting into when I come because we've come so often. And so I created my non-negotiables.
Yeah. So what I've took from that, and hopefully the listeners have done the same, is you set an intention before you got there. So you already pre-planned your intention, and that is not changing who you are for someone. That's you making a decision, making a choice that, gonna spend time with your nephew. You're gonna, if he wants to go and eat somewhere, then you're gonna eat that. That was the intention you set. And then the big one, which was the non-negotiables. What can you do in the morning? What's your morning routine? And that is a key factor because I think both of us, but in fact, I don't think I know both of us have definitely in the past changed who we are when we've been in a different environment, letting the food slide or letting the non-negotiables or the morning routine slide or not being as proactive on certain things. I've definitely got a few stories, especially one that is I completely fell back into old patterns. So yeah, it's good
You
that
want to do you want to talk about that right now?
Yeah, we can do. Yeah, I'll
Okay.
say it as it was. I went to a skydiving event that we spoke about this when we were doing some coaching, a lot more coaching together, and we weren't business partners. I went to a skydiving event where I ended up not being the person I am now, which is the caring, loving, passionate person that, and then I became this old person because when I arrived, everybody had this persona of me, my old past. And then I fell back into that old past because of the environment that was there. And then people were saying it. And then I ended up saying things that upset people. And especially a friend of mine that was a very close friend of mine, I ended up upsetting him a lot. And then we ended up falling out quite a bit. And I had to start rebuilding that because he knew that's not who I was. And he knew that's not the person I wanted to become. And it was a big eye opener. I remember coming home from that, and I think I definitely spoke to you about it and was like, well, that's never going to happen again. What a great gift. What a beautiful gift that was. And it was just the banter, and that's a bit of ribbing or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what you call it. I think it's banter, realistically. I just took it too far and it backfired. And I was like, come away feeling absolutely horrendous, realistic with myself. And when I walked away from it, it was just a beautiful gift. And now when I go into them situations now, I actually say these things to me because I've been in skydiving situations now for after that scenario many times. And when I'm going to them, I'm like, okay, that's the old you, that's the past. That's not who you are. This is who you are today. You stand by what you are today. You do the things that you do. And like I've been to numerous amounts of events for skydiving. They're not as involved in the personal development as example going to a Tony event is. And I go there and I take the same as you. I take certain things with me like the trampoline, or I take if I'm in the UK, by the way, if I was going to a UK event, if I'm going abroad, then it's a little bit different. And I take certain things with me like my salt with me. I go and buy some lemons. I've got a travel with blender. All these little things that are not my non-negotiables. I now have learned and set the intentions. And I think the word that keeps coming up is intentions and non-negotiables of who we actually are as a human being. That was a story that was a great gift. It was a great gift to me.
It is. It really is. And you got to look at this now. We can look at different areas of our lives about non-negotiables or never compromise who you are for where you are or who you're with. And you can think of business, you can think of relationships, you can think of friends, and where in those areas or other areas that people are thinking about, in those areas, where do you show up more authentic? And where do you not? So it's like, where have you worked on yourself where you're like, hey, when I go back to see family or I go back to see friends and stuff, I go skydiving, I step into who I am and I just stay who I am.
Yeah.
And that's not all the time. Sometimes you go back home and then that there's a different set of intentions you have to set. But setting intentions is just pre-framing yourself to say, hey, this is an environment that I'm aware of, that I know, and
Yes.
these are the things that I am willing to do and willing not to do.
Yeah, and I think that's the key factor of it. I think that's the biggest thing. I was just thinking then about when I used to go to Tony events, and I'd be right at the beginning when I first joined Tony events. It was like I'd stay up later, or when I go to like when we do fire team and you've got the meal, we do the meal at the end. It's like I'd stay there till the end. Now, you know me, I'm like, I'll go to the meal, I have the meal, I'm with people, I look at my watch, I'm like, bye bye, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm out of here. And you've watched me do that so many times now, where I'm like, I'm out of here. Good night. I'm going. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's a non-negotiable for me. I accept and set intentions that I want to see people. I set intentions that in that evening I'll go for the meal and be around people. And then I'm like, once I'm done, I'm like, I'm out of here. And that's not changing who you are. That's actually being the person that you want to be.
And
And
that's what this whole conversation's about. I mean,
exactly.
it's like looking at an environment and not letting the environment suck you into stuff that you typically don't want to do. And
Yes.
that's where
And
you have to be aware of, you have to be prepared,
mm,
prepping yourself to
yeah.
go, hey, these people aren't typically going to change, and you're stepping into their environment. And are you going to let their environment, are you going to start acting like them, or do you want to just act like who you really want to be?
Yeah, and it's what I love about the conversation is everybody has the opportunity to fall into that, and also that leads to another kind of people pleasing kind of thing, or sometimes the environment you don't feel like it's going to feel great, and then when you get there, the environment's that great that it wants you to stay there. It wants you to stay there. The environment wants you to stay there, or not even the people, just the environment or the conversation wants you to stay there. And that's a great thing. And we've mentioned this before, that proximity is power. So when I go to certain places, I 100% now, because of the awareness that I've got, I look at who do I actually want to be around? Who do I actually want to talk? And what do I want to do while I'm there as well?
Yeah, exactly. You bring up a great point, because you hear phrases like who you hang out with is who you become.
Yeah.
Proximity is power. There's other people will say, show me your friends and I'll show you your future.
Yeah.
Those types of things. And what it all boils down to is the environment that those people create. And I'm not saying anything's bad. Being here, my sister and brother, they live a 4-minute walk from each other. They both live different lives. My
Yeah.
brother has kids that are a little bit older, so they're with all the both the boys are in hockey and golf and do other sports, and they hang around that group of people during that season of like hockey, right?
Yeah.
You're around those, and then golf comes and you got another set of people. But typically they have neighborhoods that they hang out with, like good friends. They're going to Europe in a couple weeks, and they're going with 8 other couples, right? But it's
Nice.
these are
Wow.
couples that they know really well, and so these things. My sister, she does a lot more with her church. So that's her environment, right?
Yeah.
And so they have picked the environments that help keep them and help them choose who they really want to be, right? And so if they come down to our place, they're gonna see a different environment. And there is no right or no wrong. It's just this whole conversation has to do with, are you letting the environment change who you don't want to be?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. When you said that, I really like that. And then the first thing that came to mind when you said it was, are you letting the environment control you? That was the one thing that came to me. Then I was like, I thought you were going to go with that. I thought that's where you were going to go. And I thought, I'm not going to say anything because, but then what came to me then is, are we letting the environment in the circumstances control? Then once we've lost that control, that's when people get, oh, that's not like him. And this is the thing when, when someone says, oh, that's not like him. No, it is. It is. That's not like a, no, it is. It is like her
Yeah,
because
it is because that's the
I mean,
facts. Those are the facts. Those are the facts.
correct,
It's
because
like,
it's been done.
that's really funny that you say that. Yeah. Yeah. I heard this quote years ago and really had to think about it to talk about don't compromise who you are for where you are or who you're with. That has to do with the people or where you're at.
And I'm gonna say it's where you're at more than the people. Because and let's look at it from a factual point of view, because we love this, right? If we walk into an environment that we know is beneficial to us, me and you, we're going to talk about, because we can only talk about me, and I can only talk for myself anyway. If I walk into an environment, and I believe that this is correct for you, and we know that environment, prime example, we've got a mastermind with two of our amazing guys. When we walk into that environment, we know we can be super, super vulnerable, right?
Mm-hmm.
We might not be as vulnerable with people like if I go back to my old friends or the people that are back there and I start talking about the stuff that we talk about in that mastermind, they would be freaked out. They would be like, Peter, what are you doing? Like, it's that whole, we've got, and I wrote it down here, we've got the choices to make for what the environment that we go into. That's the factual information.
So let's go a little deeper with the mastermind group that we're part of. Okay.
Okay, cool.
I'm going to have you share this. That environment, we created the environment by we created some non-negotiables. What if you're 1 minute late?
First of all, if I'm a minute late, I get a lot of shit from a guy called Cody.
What are the rules that we created?
If you're late, then you're late.
Do you owe any money?
Not if you're late. Not if you're late. Not if you're late. If you miss, then yes. If you miss it and you don't give 24 hours. So the rules for this is, and now I know where you're going now, is the rule is if you miss without saying anything and giving 24-hour notice, then you have to pay $50 to a charity that you've set up. So the charity that we've set up is for whatever we decide that we're going to do as a group. And then if you give 24 hours, that's okay. If you give 6 hours, then it's $50. That's it. If you're late, you're going to get a lot of shit from people in the group. And then if you're really late, say you're 35 minutes late, then yes, 100% you might as well not show up for that call because you're still going to have to pay for $50.
Yeah. So what I guess where I'm going with this is nothing to do with the money or anything. We created the environment by having a conversation, and then that's what we have to expect.
Yeah.
I will tell you that when I know that call's coming up, I get on the call 5 minutes before ahead of time, right? I started the call last week or this week or last week, and you were already in the room ready to go.
Yeah, because and also I look at it from it's a training perspective. It's a training tool. And that's that whole thing about for me, when I go into an environment with the Tony people, or example, wherever I want to learn, let's call it the edge. There's another one, right? When I go into that environment, I'm like, okay, what can I learn? Who can I utilize? These people are brilliant. What can I give back? And I'm having this conversation with myself when I'm going there, right? When I'm going to an environment that is, example, a skydiving environment that I know is very high testosterone and very raw, I go into that situation in a complete different manner and I go, okay, who am I going to be today? I am going to be me. And what am I going to do? What are my non-negotiables? That is a different, that feels different because it's a different environment.
Sure. That's good. So you sparked something. I'm going to tell a story about how once you are around an environment, when you're around an environment that raises you to the next level, and then how you take that and put it into another environment or wherever you're at. So our two boys have always went with us the last 15 years on volunteering. And when they were volunteering on the fire team with us, Captain Bill, he always tells everybody, you know what? When I tell you what time to be here tomorrow, he says, this isn't you walking across the parking lot or running across the parking lot. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with you're ready to go at, let's say, 7:30. So he said, be here 15 minutes prior to that. If you're 15 minutes prior to that, you'll be able to get ready and be able to do that. So it's always be 15 minutes ahead of time, right? And so our sons grew up in this environment of this was one of the rules that we abided by. And so Zachary, as he got older, he got a job at a little restaurant over here called In-N-Out Burger. And he worked there for 4.5 years. And maybe 2-3 years into him working there, him and I ran out of the house one day, just the two of us, to have a cup of coffee to catch up. And I asked him different questions, both boys, and I'll ask him, one of the questions I ask quite often is, what can I do to help make our relationship even better? So they can give me feedback, right? Or having one of those father-son conversations, and I'm like, hey, how's school? How's work? How's volleyball? Whatever he's doing at the time. And he says, I kind of got in trouble at work the other day. And I said, really? And he says, yeah. I said, he goes, I clocked in. Then the manager asked me to come in the back room and talk to him. And he told me, he says, Zachary, you can't clock in any earlier than 10 minutes before your shift or I have to pay you overtime. And I said to him, I said, why do you go so early to work? And he goes, Captain Bill said, if you're not 15 minutes early for your shift, you're late already. So this is a teenager that goes to work 15 minutes earlier than he's supposed to because that's his non-negotiable, which I think is a great thing for a young man or any person, a young person, to be able to have that. So those little things, he learned it as he was volunteering his time. He learns this tool, and then he goes and applies it in another world, in the work world for himself. So I just think that's a great example of what we're just talking about here.
I think it's awesome. I love that. And that again is that environment. The environment creates everything. And again, picking them environments. Sometimes you can't pick them environments.
No, we can't. And there's time, but you can still bring the person you are to that.
Yeah.
Hey, this was a great call. I want to get your insights. But before we do that, I just want to talk to everybody. Anybody that's on the call today, if you heard something today that sparked something inside of you and you feel like breaking a few rules, maybe you want to break a few rules, you want to level up your health or level up your life, I think that's your sign. And we would love to have you become a rebel with us at Healthy Mindset Rebels. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Spotify, and I think Apple. Is that right?
We're on Apple, yeah.
All right.
You got it right.
Yeah. And so our mission is to wake up 100 million people to become healthy once and for all. And I know with your help, we can make that a reality. And just remember, we are your wake-up call to get healthy once and for all. And come join the community with us. We'd love to have you with us. So anyway, what's your insight? Let's go with one insight and let's get the hell out of here.
One today.
Yeah. Make it the most powerful one, man.
Just one.
Okay. I know you can't do just one. One and a half.
No, I will just do one.
Okay.
I will do one, and I'm going to use this because I wrote it down. We all have a choice. My insight was we all have a choice of who we want to be in that moment and that environment. So that it's the choices that we have. That's the biggest insight that I had.
Okay. Say that again because it's really powerful.
So we all have a choice of who we want to become in that situation, environment, or that position, whichever you want to say. And I've said it a different way, but it's the biggest thing is that we have a choice of who we want to be in that moment.
Beautiful.
And that was one. And I got to say it twice, but the same one. Woo-hoo!
See? Made your day.
You always make my day. Come on. Life is all about fun. And what about your one insight?
Be very aware of your choices that you make. Make sure they're your choices and not an environment or somebody else's choices.
Beautiful.
Kind of saying the same thing, but it just makes a lot of sense.
It does, and it just struck me. It was like I literally wrote it down. I wrote insights down. I wrote intentions down and non-negotiables, but then it all boils down to that choice. So, what a
Awesome.
beautiful call. Thank you, buddy.
All right. You're welcome. Thank you.
Wrap it up.
We'll see you tomorrow live.
Yes, you will see me tomorrow live. See you later,
Everybody,
bro.
make it a great day. Talk to you soon.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye.